Hey there, welcome back to my Lightroom Quickstart Bootcamp. In this second chapter of this series of videos, we're going to be taking a look at all things library module, at least those things that the beginner wants to know about Lightroom and how to navigate the library module to make sure you know what's going on, where things are. So let's get started. Right now we're in my basic catalog and we're taking a look at some items here. I've got this waterfall image because I was working on a waterfall workshop that I wanted to get going. So we're going to start up here in the upper left hand corner. We've taken a look a little bit at this identity plate, but we're going to dive a little bit more deeper right here, right now. When I first do just a click on it, it's a standard mouse click. I have these two items here, address lookup and face detection. And so we've looked at these before, but the settings, there aren't that many settings. Now you do have some quick settings here that you can look at, but if we also go to catalog settings, we've also been here before in our first chapter of this series of videos, but let's just review it again really quick. So we have this address lookup where we can look up the city, state, country of GPS coordinates to provide address suggestions. We can export address suggestions whenever address fields are empty. Or this other item, face detection. You can see where I can turn on face detection, and I have it turned off here by default. That is my practice anyway, to not worry about spending all that extra bandwidth, the computer bandwidth, to focus on go through all my images and just, figure out who all these people are, and then I have to go and program all those in. That's not really something that I'm terribly interested in, so I've decided not to do that. However, certainly you could go that direction if that was something that you wanted to do. And I could see how maybe in a more advanced set of Lightroom videos, I might go ahead and turn that on and showcase that functionality with my family pictures. But I do love the idea of being able to, I don't expect the address to be that accurate, but at least the city, state, and country will be accurate, I would think, of the GPS information. And since I shoot with the 5D Mark IV, I'm able to have that GPS information in there all the time. And if I ever were to shoot something with my Sony camera, I've got my GPS watch here that I could just turn on my tracker, and then I can use the Lightroom mapping module to take that tracking, apply it to all my images, and then I can still take advantage of this opportunity here to have Lightroom just go ahead and plug that information in. So I do like being able to do that, but they give us, for some reason, a quick link here where we can just turn it off and on right there really quick. So when we right click on this item, we then get these options here. So I can just have it show my Adobe ID, which of course is just my name. And again, this little arrow type thing, it just gives us this again. So nothing special about that arrow really, just telling you, you do have something that you could do there if you were to do a regular click. We can do our regular Lightroom Classic, and then we can go, how I like the personalized. And then I can certainly go and edit my identity plate. And we've looked at that too just briefly, but let's dive slightly deeper. With the identity plate, you do have the opportunity. So for instance, if I wanted to change the font of just that one, and I were to switch that, say, to Webdings, then, it went to Helvetica for some reason. Okay. If I were to go to this other, you can change the font right there, depending, on a word by word, letter by letter basis. And I think that's great that you have this level of control because, you do have some branding options that you have for yourself. Certainly I am a fan of Verlag, so here it is down here, and then over here I did extra light, and I just want to match that with this. So we're going to go extra light there, and so all of that matches. Good, and there it is. We do have this option here where we could bring in a certain color flavor, I guess we could say, to the overall text. I have a certain orange color that I use in my branding for my stuff, but I would have to find the ability to plug in a hex code because I only know it by hex code. And now, of course, this is going to be too dark. So that dark color on the black background, that's just too dark. And I do like a black background for my Lightroom, or a dark, as you can see, the gray background there. But at least we have. Now, I didn't do the orange, did I? Let me try the orange. All right, that looks a lot better. But again, this is the kind of thing where usually when I'm working on pictures, I don't really, it's problematic at best to try and find something that is going to work for me that is a color, that is an actual color. I don't remember what color it actually was. I'll just go ahead and type in some basic brighter but not pure white color, and we'll see that is sufficient. I will be happy with that. All right, so we then have the same option that we can look at with these items over here where our modules are. So again, you have the same options for color. You can do the different fonts for those, and that can just, that can be really nice to be able to do that, I think. This other item, show status and activity, we're going to look at that here now. And that is also, if I right click on it here, we can see it right there in that list. And then we also have the address lookup that we can turn on and the face detection that we can turn on. The thing about it is, I have a feeling it only really addresses these two items down here, whether or not we want to show these items, because take a look, and this does no difference. If I have it on or off, I'll go ahead and turn it off, right? So I've clicked on it, again, it's off. You can see how it's supposed to not show this activity, right? But if I were to go to some images where I know I don't have any previews made, and I'll go ahead and select a range of images, and then I go over here and I come down to my previews and I say, let's build our one-to-one previews. You can see it still shows me the status of what it's working on. If it has multiple things that it's working on, it will show 2 different lines or 3 different lines of progress there. And so it's nice that Lightroom gives us this cue of what's going on. It's just, this is to say, okay, this particular checkbox here, it is only going to be referencing these 2 items because, as you can see when I turn it off, it grays those out. So why we have that as a specific decision that we can make, whether or not to show them or not, well, I do know it's because in one case, I've seen it with a client on face detection especially, it can take forever to go through. And if you just want to know the progress of where you're at, you can certainly turn it on and it'll work on in the background, or it'll just keep you up to date with where you're at with all your face detection items. Okay, moving on, let's take a look now at here in the main field of view, this right in the middle where everything happens as it relates to Lightroom. Right now we're in what Lightroom calls the loupe view, and if I hit G, we're going to be in the grid view, and you can see these images that are selected. This is where it shows up here, these items here that are selected. Of course, I can select these. I can do a range of images by shift selecting. If I want to select a non-contiguous like so, I just have to hold the command key while I'm clicking on each of those images, and then it will add those to the selection, and then I can move those, manipulate those, do certain commands to those that we'll be learning about, of course, through the rest of this chapter and the rest of this video series. But when we are looking at a particular image, let's say this one, all these are selected, but this one is highlighted. So if I hit the E key, that's where it's going to show it to me in the loupe view. Or I can also just double click and see whichever one I click on, that's the one that becomes the primary image. And if I double click, it then goes back out to the grid view. Now let's finish up by taking a look at just the general functionality of the panels and where we're at here in Lightroom. All right, when I hit the tab key, my panels on the sides go away. When I hit the tab key again, they'll come back. I can also do individual panels. These little arrows way over here off to the side, I can click that. Whoops, you can see I have my dock coming in over there. And so I can click that and it comes in and it stays there. But if I mouse over it, certainly it just then, it brings the panel back. Same thing happens over here on this side. And then when we go up to the top, we can do the same thing, adding a little more real estate at the top, getting rid of our masthead type item up there. And then way down here at the bottom, we have the same idea with the film strip. We can get rid of it. And so another keyboard shortcut. So remember, tab gets rid of the side panels, but shift tab gets rid of all those panels, right? Even the top one and the bottom one, it just maximizes your ability to see those images right there on your screen, getting it full on screen. All right, we have a little bit of this thumbnails slider. This is probably one of the last things I take a look at, where we can make them larger or smaller. And then we can see with this little item, we'll go ahead and add these others. Notice I'm going to add little items down here along the bottom. And we'll get to each of these with what they mean and what they're talking about in the subsequent videos here in Chapter 2 of the Lightroom Quickstart Bootcamp. All right, so let's set ourselves back to normal. That'll wrap us up for this video. And in the next video, we're going to take a look at the navigator, the catalog, and the folders elements here in the left-hand panel here in the library module. All right, we'll see you there. And until then, happy shooting.